Guilt. Guilt is easily one of the parts of the subconscious mind that too many of us have to struggle with. Guilt is not something, it was something that I was able to overcome very easily because my system is more controlled than avoider. If you are an avoider, you're going to be visited a lot more from guilt. Guilt is 100% not you. I mean, it is so not you that imagine, okay, this is the analogy I love to make. For me, I refer to my subconscious mind as Rick. Rick from Rick and Morty, because I see a cartoon in my head. It makes this whole thing so much more fun. So I have Rick running. I literally see Rick, the scientist, standing over the cognitive core belching. And I see Jerry running around in that first level of my subconscious panicking. I see this. I see Beth, my identity, standing there soothing Jerry, telling him to shut the fuck up. I see this in my head. And then I see a character from The Simpsons sitting at my fridge and eating my food, giving his 2 cents about the situation, telling me what I should and shouldn't do, making me feel like shit because I exist. And I look at this kid from The Simpsons and I think, you don't even belong here. You are so misplaced that I'm not even going to give you a name. So every time guilt enters the scene, no, I know what it was. I know what it was. I was 15 years old when I discovered guilt, when I named guilt, and when I said, fuck that shit, and I kicked out guilt. It was when I started studying theology. And I discovered in my theological studies, when I was doing existentialism with my philosophical studies, that God does not exist. That is what I concluded after 6 months of studying philosophy, that God does not exist. And when God stopped existing, my guilt vanished. I thought that was interesting. I had no religious guilt because I didn't have a third party in my system anymore telling me what I should or shouldn't do. Guilt is third-party programming from our society, from our parents, from somewhere that isn't us, telling us how to run and operate our cognitive core. So that every time we stray away from the cognitive core, we have this random voice in our head telling us what we should and shouldn't do, because the guilt's job is to make sure we stay aligned and true to the abuser's agenda. Your subconscious mind's agenda is to protect and keep the identity safe. Your identity's agenda is to define the self. Your conscious awareness's agenda is to pursue happiness. You pursue happiness by doing what identity wants, defining what you love, defining the self through love. But the subconscious mind's agenda is to keep identity safe. The third party guilt, this person from The Simpsons that's crammed into your subconscious mind at the moment, that the whole agenda is to make sure that your subconscious mind stays loyal to the abuser. So the very first thing you can do every time you feel guilt is target that kid, the neighbor's kid, who's in your fridge eating your food, who doesn't even belong there, and send him home. Tell him to go home. He doesn't even belong there. Every time you feel guilt, you must know that that is not you. That is the stupid neighbor's kid who just needs to go home. So send him home. Really. Get into the practice of every time you feel guilt, Send him home because he's really making a mess of things. Some of us have abusers that are so toxic that we actually have a personification of the narcissist inside of our head right there. I call him Mr. Nimbus. And he's really in charge of Rick and Jerry. He's got a collar on Rick, and he's sitting there with a little remote control, controlling Rick's behavior. That's if you have a narcissist actually in your head. But this is my cartoon. This is how I view my subconscious mind. It helps me visualize it so I can position the characters, and it makes it really fun so that it's even more fun to like knock down doors and get rid of characters, and it makes the whole process a lot more fun. So if it's easier for you to imagine fictional characters, people, cartoons, animes running around in your head, do it. Absolutely do it. I'll tell you, when you take a narcissistic asshole and you turn him into Mr. Nimbus, suddenly you start to laugh at your own abuser and say, this is ridiculous. Get the fuck out of my head. It puts a lot of control in you. And the reason why is because you are tapping into joy, who is directly linked to identity, which brings out identity even more. So I am huge on pick your favorite show, pick your favorite TV show, assign all the characters in your head names. You've got Jerry, you've got your subconscious mind, who I still to this day see as Rick, drooling and belching. And you've got Mr. Nimbus, maybe, hopefully not. But if you have Mr. Nimbus, put Mr. Nimbus in there too. And you've got your identity, Beth, who needs to soothe the Jerry and calm him down. And yeah, you've got this kid from The Simpsons in your fridge telling you what to do. So kick out guilt, get rid of him. It's not you. You are identity. You're not the fear system. That is the thing that the abuser, Mr. Nimbus, has used against you. Mr. Nimbus uses your subconscious mind against you. You are just identity. That's all that matters. So when you start to heal and you start to shift the role of authority inside of your subconscious mind, what you are really doing is turning down the fear system until it's off. And you are taking the subconscious mind and you are decreasing it, and you are putting it only at the cognitive core, and you are removing that AI piece. And then you are taking identity out of the closet, fourth level of the subconscious mind, and you are bringing her to the surface. And you are saying, you're in charge now. What do you want and where do you want to go? The world is yours. And you are inviting her onto your ship. And you, the conscious awareness, we're going to cover this tomorrow, are the captain. Hello, Captain. You are in charge. And your job is to stand up at the helm, put your hands on that helm, intuition, and decide where you need to steer the ship. And identity is your navigator. So where you are going to sail your ship of life is completely dependent upon the whims, dreams, and wishes of your identity. And you are going to use your intuition to steer the helm. We're going to talk about that on Thursday. No, we're going to talk about that tomorrow on Wednesday. How intuition works with the conscious awareness, the captain, to direct the helm of the ship, while identity gives you the heading and the navigational direction of, hey, I want to go to Tortuga. And you say, yes, we're going to go to Tortuga. And you decide to go to Tortuga. And the captain, you, says to intuition, get us to Tortuga. And intuition says, all right. And she takes the helm and she steers the ship to wherever she tells you how to steer the ship. But only this can happen when you turn off that defense system. I'm sorry, turn off the fear system. And you have that subconscious mind back at the cognitive core being a little small invisible thing. The subconscious mind is supposed to be a little invisible thing. And the big guns, the cannons, that's your defense system. That's your communication system. And there is no guilt on the ship. You've removed that moron from your fridge. And there is no Mr. Nimbus being weird and bossing everybody around. He's gone now. This is what it looks like when we're done. It starts with identity. What do you love? What do you want? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? We're going to work on believing that you can have this later. Okay?